Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are watching. My name is Jason Weiss, and we are back with another great episode of Ask Jason Weiss. I am both an attorney and a coach, and I come to you today not as your attorney, but as an attorney, so that nothing said on this show constitutes legal advice. I have a fellow attorney on with me today named Sharon, and anything that she or I say on this podcast and episode is not legal advice. You haven't retained either one of us. Neither one of us are your attorney. You have no attorney-client privilege with either one of us. But after this, hopefully you will reach out to Sharon and myself so that we can help you out. So without further ado, we have Sharon V here with us today. Sharon is otherwise known as the Inspired Attorney, and she is an attorney who helps peers as a business and life strategist. I can also say with confidence that she is phenomenal at what she does because, like those old commercials for Hair Club for Men, like, I'm not only the president, I'm also a client. Well, I'm not only here having her as my guest, but Sharon is someone who is 100% in my corner, someone who I have retained her for coaching and consulting and finding out how to be an inspired attorney. And all the things that I say that are inspiring, I can thank Sharon for. So Sharon, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what is the Inspired Attorney?
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate the introduction, and it's it's the ultimate pleasure to be able to do what I love and work with amazing, incredible human beings like you. What do I say? I grew up in South Florida. I'm from Germany originally. I got my law degree in 2008 when the market crashed, I think like many other attorneys. And basically my North Star was always education. So I thought that it would all just work itself out. In that journey, I ended up feeling very, very lost. I started my career over in Europe. And when I moved back to the States, I started really doing some serious deep dives on myself and started the personal development journey, which has taken a very long time for me to get to know myself and get to know my superpowers and also own my superpowers. That's the big thing, is because for the longest time, there are things that I wanted to do, especially, I am amazing at strategy. And those are things that like most law firms aren't seeking in a person. And so eventually what happened is I was working with colleagues, just because I love doing it. And someone suggested that I become a coach. And literally the next day I got an email from this program that I was a part of, and it said, "Are you thinking about becoming a coach?" And, there are no mistakes, and that kind of catapulted things. And it started as me helping attorneys, just coaching, and it's really evolved to what my vision and mission is, to change the way that we practice law so that we can practice from a place of passion and joy. Because when we are doing what we love and we are working in our superpowers, that transfers on to everyone that we serve.
And I love that. That's one of the things that you work with me, set your eyes on it. One of the words that I quickly jotted down while you were talking was, the North Star. I like that. And I like it because I think the North Star that you gave and you put out there, there's no answer. It's not like the North Star and you can define, like we all know what the North Star is, but what I think is my North Star, what you think is your North Star could be different. To me, the North Star is wherever you are on the planet, you look up, you look at the North Star, and it grounds you. You know where you are, you know where you're headed, you know what your direction is. And everybody, no matter where they are, that sees the North Star, it's the same thing. It's a beacon for the world. It's like that universal Batman sign that goes up in Gotham City when they need help.
It is.
And that's one of the beautiful things that I think about what you do. I've worked with multiple coaches. I still have multiple coaches. I work with them because the only way you can be a good coach is to be coached and to have somebody to go to. And one of the things that I find unique and refreshing, and I'm going to want you to talk about this, you don't say, "Jason, you should do A, B, and C. You spin it. You ask that question so that I come to that conclusion that I should do A, B, and C. Where did you learn that? When did it pop for you? Like, practicing law ain't my thing, or not my love. You might be great at it, but it's not my love. My love is teaching, helping. So tell us a little bit about how you, like, your aha moment.
Well, it was really when that colleague of mine recommended that I become a coach, because it had been something I didn't even realize that I was coaching fellow attorneys and also working with people that I know who are business owners, and I absolutely loved it. And I'd always thought, oh gosh, this would be amazing if this would be something that I could do professionally. But then, when you're an attorney, you define yourself as an attorney, and also sometimes we really just need to own what we like to do, even though it's not necessarily the easy thing to do. Because, when you go to school, like, it's kind of like a predefined route. And sometimes we really just need to go our own and take one step at a time to get there.
And that's one of the things that, when I'm working with, people, and I hear it all the time. And you did it. I mean, and I'm transitioning to it, slowly, slower than I'd like, but slowly I'm getting there.
All in divine timing.
Hey, and that's another thing. It's, how do I go? And for me, this wasn't, appropriate, but, how do I tell my mom or my wife, who's always with me, but how do I tell her, look, I just spent $88,000 to $100,000 on law school. I practiced for a month, a year, 5 years. I don't want to do this anymore. That's tough. I mean, it was, when I was running track in high school and I decided I didn't want to do it anymore, my parents were like, okay, what was the investment? A pair of track shoes, which,
Yeah.
knowing me and knowing, what it was, I probably had to reimburse my parents for the track shoes. I understand. It teaches you a lesson. It gets there. There's no lesson that needs to be taught. When you go to school, you think this is what you want, and you get there and it's really not what you want. I think the lesson to be taught is, you can transition at any point in time in your life. Just because you have a JD doesn't mean you need to be a traditional lawyer. And that's not something you helped me uncover and unravel, because I came to you saying, I don't want to be a traditional lawyer. I want to do something else. What you've been helpful for me on a personal basis is finding other opportunities, finding what makes my heart beat, my head tick, my body go, and just sitting there telling you things. You pointed out to me, Jason, when you talked about lacrosse with your son, you got passion. When you talked about your clothing line, you got passion. When you talked about your show, passion. When you talked about your case. So, I mean, I guess you got it from an external source. Someone told you, this is what you should do. This is what you should do. This is what you should do. So you're the anomaly. You got, no offense, lucky. You had that. Should we be looking for signs, as, to us mortals that just can't figure it out? I mean, I get phone calls like this every day. Like, Jason, I've been practicing law for 4 years. I'm stuck. I'm not going to make more money. I hate what I do. What do I do? Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think so. I got lucky in the sense, like, that came a sign, but that sign came, but it came after and years of working on myself and years of discovering who I am and what I like and what makes me tick. And I think ultimately we need to allow ourselves the opportunity to get to know ourselves. And we're not static beings. We grow in this life. You're constantly going to evolve, just like a tree gets taller and gets more branches. That's how we are as human beings. We grow and evolve, and we have to allow ourselves the grace to grow. But on the other hand, a lot of the times we want things to come easy for us, right? Like, you want someone to come and tell you, oh, you should be a coach, or, oh, you should do this, or, oh, you should do that. Ultimately, there's no shoulds. I think there's, this is a quote from a movie, not really the best movie. I mean, I like the movie, but the quote is, There's no such thing as a mistake. There's what you do and what you don't do. And either you do it unfaithful. Yeah, it was, I mean, the movie, I think it's a good movie, but the premise, not really the best. I think you're
I got
muted.
my camera. I got my camera. I got my mute off. You're
I
talking.
was reading your lips.
Yeah, you're talking to the guy who his favorite movie is National Treasure. So
I love that movie.
Okay, so but I think the line is great. It's kind of like what the guy over my shoulder somewhere over here, Yoda. And Grogu say. There's no try. You do.
Yeah.
I think the hard part, and this is where I struggle as both a coach and for myself is, okay, I don't want to practice law anymore. I want to do X. How do I do that? How do I transition in? How do I transition out? And there's no magic. Like, I wish you could, it's like the Matrix, take the red pill, take the blue pill, and you'll get it. And it's not there. So what do you tell people like me who are sitting around and like, okay, I know what I don't want to do, but now what? Help.
Well, it's first off, we have to remember that things happen one step at a time. Just like when you bake a cake, it needs time in the oven. You got to put the ingredients together before it's ready. We live in a society where we've become so used to the instant gratification of things being instantly there for us that we don't remember that it took us 3 years to go to law school. It took us time studying for the bar to become attorneys. And if we realize that we're not happy anymore, starting the self-discovery process of, like what you said, this is what I don't like to do. The contrast of what you don't like to the contrast of what you do like, really start going through those things. I mean, we've done the assessment tool together. You've done it twice now. And the assessment tool, I think, really is a great way to start the Inspired Attorney Assessment, because it just gives you an outline of things you wouldn't even think about yourself, like how you make decisions, if any of your values are misaligned, even what type of organization you'd want to work in. Because that's like a question that most people don't even think about, like the organization size and culture that they would be a good fit for. Like, those are kind of like guardrails that can help us, but ultimately it's one step at a time. And if there's something that you really want to do and that you're passionate about, then you're going to have to put in the work, and you're going to have to do it one day at a time and build that momentum. And
one of the things that you just said that really hit home, because this was a conversation I had with a gentleman yesterday, first year lawyer. And I said to him, I'm like, you went to law school 3 years, but between studying for the bar and sending out resumes and getting a first job, there's a fourth year. So you invested 4 years into your law career, your law school. You're now, he was sworn in September. So you're now, let's just say 6 months into the practice, you really have like maybe another 3.5 years to like figure it out, and look at it in 4-year, increments. One of the coaches that I work with, she tells me that life is a series of sevens. Every 7 years is something new. So 0 to 7, I think, is like your growing year. And 7 to 14 is your knowledge year. And then, so I remember that 42 to 47 was supposed to be that's where you start accumulating wealth and knowledge. So I'm still in that stage. So that's one of the things, but I like that. I like how you put it into increments. It's very neat. Talk a little bit about the Inspired Assessment. I know it because I've done it twice. Mention that because it's something that I think is great, and I'd really like you to be able to share that with people listening.
So what I love about the Inspired Attorney Assessment is that it brings together multiple sciences to basically give you an overview of how you are in business. But in my opinion, business and life are so intertwined that there really isn't much separation. And the beautiful thing is it brings in elements of the DISC and other assessments. And what it does, it shows you how you are. Like, are you a person, like, I'm a connector. Like, that's just one thing that's like one of my superpowers. I'm great at connecting people. It tells you what your top values are. If any of your values are misaligned, it tells you what the size of your comfort zone is and how you make decisions. It, like I said, it tells you what kind of culture of an organization you'd be a good fit for. Also, what size organization. Some people think, oh, like, maybe they just hate their firm, right? But they're working in a giant firm. Maybe they're better fit for a smaller firm where they have a certain impact on the processes and procedures and how things are done. Or perhaps you decided to open your own law firm and you absolutely hate it, but you're a great fit for someone who is a plug and play type deal. And owning ourselves and seeing, like, what I love about the assessment and assessment tools in general is that they give us, on paper, I mean, you can believe what you want, but it's kind of like, I guess, like a horoscope for you in that sense, like your star map. It shows you, like, okay, like these are what I'm playing with, and these are things to be aware of. Like, for example, with the comfort zone, if you have a very large comfort zone, then working with people who have a smaller comfort zone that push you out is helpful. But then you can also look back and see how you've made decisions in the past and say, okay, it was because I wasn't ready to jump, and that's just the way that I'm wired. And it just highlights things in black and white for you, so you could see ways that you can improve. And also, just like, if things aren't working for you in your life, sometimes it's very clear for you why it's not working, because it's written there in black and white.
And that was one of the things that I found. I've taken all of these different assessments and all of these different things, and I've done, Strengths Finder, and I've done the DISC assessment, and I've done all of these. And that's something that I found unique about this one. This one basically said, and I'm going to make it up because, I don't want to share my information, that I should be working at a company that pushes innovation and pushes cooperation and pushes people there. It doesn't have me sitting behind a desk every single second of the day. And what I found even more interesting was that it gave me perfect examples, not perfect because there's nothing, but it gave me good examples of the types of companies. It said that I should look at a company A and look at a company B and look at a company C. And, part of what I was looking for when, for my fractional GC work was, what are the types of companies I want to work with? Oh, I should work at a company that pushes innovation, or I should work at a startup, or and it was great. And the other thing was, it took financial out of it, because I know for a fact when you're working with clients who are sometimes kind of difficult with what they want, that, money seems to play a factor in there. If you said to me, and I'll say this, Jason, what's your dream job? I want to go work at Lowe's or Home Depot in the garden department and just be with my hands in the dirt every second of the day. I don't think I could afford to live with that, but that at least lets me know. And then, we put into my thought process where, all right, well, we like to plant seeds, and he likes to roll up his sleeves, and he likes to get dirty, and he likes to do. And now all of a sudden, I've gone from looking at, the massive law firm to a small little, whatever it is. And it was very eye-opening. And I found that to be very different and very unique. And I liked that about the test. I took it twice, and I know, I don't recall, was I aligned? I was pretty much aligned when I took it both times, right?
So that, from what I remember, there were certain things that changed slightly, but for the most part, there were, like, in terms of like values that were misaligned, that slightly shifted. I don't know if your organization size changed, but for the most, there were a lot of things that stayed the same, which just shows that, we as beings, at a core, are a certain way, and we evolve, and we'll grow. A tree will lose a limb and it'll grow another one in another area. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, since I'm getting older, instead of growing taller, I'm just growing wider. So, it's all good. It's all good. So with that note, what we're going to do is we're going to break for a quick commercial because I don't need to, talk about how I'm growing wider for much longer. And then we'll be back with Sharon, the inspiredattorney.com. And that is her website. And I really recommend that you go check it out. At least talk to her about her assessment and about that kind of stuff. She's been great. She's been so inspiring for me. We're going to hop into a commercial, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about more great things that we can all learn from Sharon. We are back with the Ask Jason show. Here we are. You have two attorneys on the line, but neither one of us are giving legal advice today. That is not allowed. And anything that you say or do or write us or contact with us, no attorney-client privilege has been created. The Florida bar requires us to say that kind of stuff, so we do it. Nothing today is legal advice. Should you seek legal advice, consult an attorney directly. You can consult one of us, but nothing we say here today. So we have Sharon Ve here, who is the inspired attorney, who was, I think you were recommended to me maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago from a friend, because the friend said to me, after me probably complaining and whining, and my wife had had enough, and my other friends have had enough, that, I wasn't 100% thrilled where I was at in my professional life. And you've been just a tremendous resource, an ear, someone who listens, points in the right direction. And again, I'm going to harp on this. You, as the inspired attorney, you kind of helped figure out a strategy. You didn't say, Jason, this is what you have to do. And it's funny because that's what I came to you asking. I remember that the first time we spoke, I said to you that my grandfather, his name is Mac, was the person I looked up to. He was, if Poppy, that's what I called him, if Poppy said the sky is green, I didn't go outside and look. The sky was green. If Poppy said the New York Yankees were the best baseball team and that's his team, that's who I rooted for. And as you can see, I'm a Yankees fan because of Poppy. And I said to Sharon that I was looking for someone to basically hear my story and help me. And I remember you're like, well, I'll hear your story and I'll help you identify things, but I ain't telling you what to do. I feel like what I came to you for is probably common. And you got me to think like, okay, I need her to help me down the path, but shoot, this decision is 100% mine. And it was a great thing. So how from start to finish, how does somebody get in touch with you? What is a path? What is a typical, and you can use me as an example without giving, personal things that we've talked about. Well, what is a typical, you know, client, customer, a fan? Well, tell us a little bit about it.
So most of the time it's a warm referral like you, and the person comes to me and they're ready, because, you can have someone introduce someone and they're just not ready and they're not going to want to engage because it's just how it is. When you're not ready, you're not going to engage because you're being confronted with something that you're not ready to engage in. So either we get introduced by email, or you could go to my website. The best place to start is with the Inspired Attorney Assessment, which we had just talked about, and that is on my website. You can go ahead and schedule a time with me to go over the assessment, and you get the assessment and have the assessment results. And that's where we start. We go over your assessment results, see where you're at, and see how I can help you. And what I like about that is that it's an opportunity for us to get to know one another. I can see how I can help you. We also see how and if it's the right fit, and we go from there.
And that's what I thought was one of the many great things, but one of the great things, it was, I got to sit there and tell my story and tell my thing, and it was very clear to me what was being offered and what wasn't. It wasn't, I am going to find you the job, put you in where you want to be, get you the perfect client, help you pick out, what kind of tie you should wear on an interview, like that kind of stuff. It was more that you were going to help me find out what it is that inspires me, that gets me out of bed in the morning, that helps. And that just opened up eyes, because, even though, and I would love to, connect with you every single week and work with you every single week, but, I've got work, you've got work, we all got that. Even the touch points that we have, the follow-up email, you and I talked about something, I had my 90 for 90. I had something I needed to do within 90 days. It was earning a certain amount and all of that. And she would follow up with me. Hey, I know you're not at your 90 and 90, but did you take a step? There was a reminder. There was a nudge, not a push, not a pester, but a nudge, like, hey, how you doing? Let's keep you on track. And that was one of the things that, is great. The Inspired Attorney, who holds you accountable. And I loved that. And it was great. So couple of questions. Did you ever practice from 2008 until you opened up the Inspired Attorney, or?
Yeah. So when I started, I got barred in 2011, and I started my career out because like I had said, my original, like my North Star was education. So every time one educational bar was met, the next one came along. And so when I was in law school, the idea came about to help German American clients. And because I'm from Germany originally, so the idea was like, I've always wanted my MBA. I have this opportunity to get my MBA degree in Germany. And what a perfect place to start my law degree. Start my law career is in Germany, helping those clients who I want to help, either the Germans or the Americans in Germany. This is coming from a very naive view of the law. Like, I had no idea, honestly, what I was getting into. So not realizing that most law firms like a plug and play experience. So I started my career out there, got exposed to so many different areas of the law. But it was a very largely administrative role, where I had hoped that it would grow to more, and it didn't really. But the beautiful thing is even though I felt like in that position, that I felt really brought down in that position, and I felt, especially you have an MBA, you have a law degree, like I feel like someone's assistant. But the beautiful thing is I got to understand how law firms work, how most law firms work. A lot of law firms are solos practicing under one roof. I got to understand the pressures that most lawyers face. I got to work on how we handled client intake and make that more efficient. And I worked in a firm that had multiple offices. So it was a really beautiful experience. But after that, I looked for another job in Europe and I couldn't get one, at least not what I had hoped for. And so I basically moved back to the States and started over, because it was either use my MBA and stay in Europe and go in HR, or even get a PhD. And I was like, enough with the school. No mas. Or go back to the States and use my law degree. And then I fell into e-discovery, and it was something that I really enjoy, because there's so many different things happening. You're always working on different matters. E-discovery and technology is the future, and it gives me the freedom and the flexibility that I like. But the problem for me is eventually I saw what the rest of my life would look like if I continued down that path, and I just didn't feel fulfilled. And that, I was already working on myself, but that then spurred the ultimate question, is like, well, shit, if I don't like this, then what do I do? What are other options out there? And the funny thing is like, all while I was working on myself, like I said, I didn't even realize that I was coaching other people. And so that's kind of the journey.
And there are so many nuggets of great things that you said there. But one of the things that, I know for a fact, I'm fractional general counsel for a company, and I was doing their legal work and doing a good job and turning it around and meeting everything. But one of the things that you said was you went to the law firm and you learned client intake and you learned this and you went down your whole path. One of the things that you and I talked about, and I put it into play, is for this company, I got granular. I got into the everyday. I started going to the business unit meeting. I started going to the internal meetings, the ops meetings. I started going to facilities and plants, and I really got to understand it. And at that point in time, it all clicked for me. And it's like, this is great. Like, I get it. I now know how they make the widget. And what's going on, and you have Mary and Steve and Joe all contributing and make it, like, it opened my eyes and it gave me some validation as to what I was doing, and that was huge. It was a lot of times we buy the car, we drive it off the lot, we go home, we take it in for 5,000 or 10,000 miles service, but not everybody just opens up the hood to give a quick look. And I think that's one of the things that you taught me. You have your car, open the hood, look at the engine. I might not know how to fix it, but if a cap is open, I probably know that's not good. Or if there's no blue water in the reservoir, for the windshield wipers, I could do that, and it was very eye-opening. And that's one of the things. And again, I'm going to get back to the inspired attorney. It's inspiring you to do better at your practice, be a better spouse, be a better kid, be a better parent, be a better lawyer, and digging deep to figure out what is maybe the root of your problem, or your problem's wrong, the root of your unhappiness, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's an opportunity really in disguise, right? Because if you're, we all have this in our own, everybody experiences this. We have moments where things come up and it feels like an issue, but there's something causing that. So exploring what's going on there. Basically, I love that you brought up the user manual, because I'm one of those people who cracks open the user manual when I get something. But basically going into the user manual of yourself and writing the user manual of yourself, discovering yourself and what makes you tick. So often there are also things that, that's why also therapy is a great thing to get engaged in. Therapy is amazing. I'm in therapy. It helps you understand parts of yourself that maybe you didn't even realize where things were coming from. But I think one of the most important things is, and we do this, you don't ask why questions. When something comes up, you ask what or how. Because why oftentimes is why did you do this? Well, I don't know, because I did it. But instead of well, how did it come about that this happened? That's more of a point of curiosity, and that gives you a better opportunity to find where it's coming from. But then you continue down that strain of questioning where did it come from? And then after that point, after that little nugget, you ask another question, and it keeps going down until you can get to that point where you're like, holy crap, I didn't even realize that That's really where it's coming from, and that it's not what I thought it was, but really it's this.
It's the never-ending onion. Is
Yes.
basically you keep peeling away the layers. I don't think you're ever going to get to that tiny little thing in the middle, but you're always going to get closer. Hey, people could be fortunate. Maybe they could find, that is, or the onion within the onion. Maybe you'll find the middle, the exact point in your career, but you might not find it in your entire life. Or maybe you find it in your personal life and you don't find it in your career, and you keep looking and you keep going down that path. So what would be your advice to, that attorney who is just, scratching his or her head saying like, I'm here, I'm stuck, I'm an attorney, all I do is discovery stuff. I hate it. I'm miserable. What do I do? What do I do?
So
Well, first thing you do is you call Sharon, or you
yes,
call me, or you call. So, all right. So we put that aside.
that
So,
aside.
okay, that they see something on Instagram, they see something on Facebook, they see something whatever, and they reach out to you. Sharon, I'm stuck. Now what?
So I'm going to give you some tools that you can work on without contacting me or you, and they're great starting points. One of them is an exercise. It's from Mind Valley. It's called Your 3 Most Important Questions. You can Google it. That exercise, and we've done it before. I believe it just puts life in perspective for us, because then you see what's really important for you. Secondly, if you can only see the things that you don't like, write down that list. Take out a piece of paper, put a line in the middle, and you can write on one side what I hate about my job, or what I hate about what I do, or whatever you want to list it as, and start putting points on every one. So for example, maybe somebody doesn't like dealing with certain coworkers. Maybe someone doesn't like dealing with bringing in business, but then when you're like, oh, I don't like doing this, but then you'll think about, when you're saying what you don't like, what you do like on the other, and then use the other column to write down things that you do like about what you do, or things that come out of what you do, if that makes any sense.
It does. It makes complete and total sense, instead of just, oh my God, it's, and I hear it all the time. The first phone call I usually have is, Jason, I hate my job. Okay. Well, what is it that you hate about it? And that's, for them, it's simple. It's, oh, I hate, the managing partner. Okay. Why do you hate the managing partner? Because she's tough on me. Okay. What do you mean by tough on you? Well, she expects the things to be done right. Okay. Like, I'm okay with that. It's, is she mean to you? No, she's very nice. So then what is it? Well, maybe it's not the managing partner. Maybe it's the fact that it's, all I do is deal with divorce people all day long. Well, what kind of law do you practice? Family law. Well, hello, you shouldn't be in family law. Find a different area of the law.
Or do non-contentious matters.
Or just like that, do non-contentious matters. Do something that you don't like confrontation. I mean, look, I'm a litigator. I can't stand confrontation. So how did I do that? I went ahead and I got my mediator's certificate. So now I'm a mediator and I can start mediating cases. I was actually on a mediation during the beginning part of this show, believe it or not, and not as the mediator, just participating. And it was, find the part of the law that I like, and we discovered that, for me, it's I love the business of law. Love it. Love it. Let's go make
and you
rain.
like
Let's
being
get
a part of something.
Yes, I do. And we found, the perfect fit for the types of clients. And I started targeting those clients for business. And sure enough, I'm working with a couple of those. It could be one little matter, or it could be, 20 matters. It's great. It just, I think what you did is you helped me get on that right path. Instead of, oh my God, the world is ending and blah, 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 blah. You might not have put me on the yellow brick road, where I'm going to go find Oz, but at least I'm on the path, and I'm there, and I get there. And it's great. So we're getting towards the end, and usually I throw out my toughest questions, towards the end, and tongue in cheek, really. But So you practiced overseas or
Yes.
on the other side, you practiced, here. If you were able to do what you do 100% as the inspired attorney, even putting aside the e-discovery, because I know you like it, but where would you physically put yourself? Where would you physically, geographically, where would you go?
Oh, so it's a beautiful question, because when I created the Inspired Attorney, I didn't want to be geographically set somewhere. So I live in Miami Beach. I love it, but more recently, I've been practicing what I preach, and I've gotten out of it. So I'd say I love being in Miami Beach, but anywhere where there's sunshine, a beach, and clear waters.
I like it.
Or a mountain with snow that I can snowboard.
So it's so
Powder.
my father-in-law used to he liked to have adult beverages, and in the cold times of the year he would drink scotch, and in the warm times of the year he would drink vodka. So for you, it's when I want to be warm, I want to be on the beach and sunny and sand, and when I want to be cold, I want to be skiing on a mountaintop.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
who is your ideal I don't want to say client, but who's your ideal candidate to be part of, your inspired attorney program? Who, if someone's listening,
Yeah.
And they check all these boxes, they should be calling you. Who you looking for?
So I love working with people who are in a place of transition. They have begun the self-development journey, and like you said, they're in a place where they're just like, what do I do? But they're open and ready to make the changes.
I like that. The open and the readiness. And I know for me, it took me a handful of years to finally say to myself, I'm ready. And this is what I had to
And
do.
that's okay.
And it's funny because when I came to you when we first started working together, one of the things was, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And this is what I want to do. And just talking it over, you got me to say, maybe I don't mind doing that. Maybe I just need to do less of this and more of this. And it opened eyes, and it was great. Sharon, what's the best way to reach you? I'm sure there are people out there who are saying, oh my God, I got to get with Sharon. She's awesome. What's the best way to get you? On the screen is theinspiredattorney.com.
So you can go to my website. You can send me an email directly if you'd like, Sharon at theinspiredattorney.co, or find me on social media. I release insights every week. They're my Inspired Insights on Wednesdays. You want to dip your feet in there and check them out. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Go ahead and find whatever channel you like, and then send me a message. If there's something that really touched your soul and you want to talk about it or whatever, we can open up the conversation there too, if that's easier for you.
Sharon, one last question. I'll throw out another easy one. You kind of already hinted at it. Like basically, what do you do for fun? You can't say sitting on the beach and you can't say snowboarding because you already put those out there. But you have a full day to yourself. Your cell phone's off. Your earbuds are in. You're just jamming out to music. What is it that you do?
Oh gosh, I do so many things. Well, if there's a race on, I love Formula One, or if my football team, Bayern Munich, or the German national team is playing, I love to go watch a game with friends and family. Ride my bike, go to a nice live concert. I love all kinds of music. So really just something that is beautiful and gets the body moving. Yeah.
Yeah, and hey, watching soccer or football for the Germans. Watch Stuttgart's. My brother is one of the assistant coaches for Stuttgart's over in Germany. So support them. Think about Sharon. Look her up, the Inspired Attorney. She's on LinkedIn. She's on Instagram. She's on Facebook. And for any attorney or any person professionally, like you're kind of like, I'm kind of stuck. I don't know what to do. The economy is changing. I need help. I got to figure it out. Look her up, theinspiredattorney.com. Find her. It's Sharon Ve, V-E. You can find her there too. Look her up on Instagram. I'm not a Facebook person, but Instagram, LinkedIn, and anything else. Reach out to her. You won't be sorry. Sharon, thank you so much for everything you've done for me, with me, and for being my guest here today. And anytime you want to come back, it would be my pleasure.
It is an absolute pleasure, Jason. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
CC for working everything behind the scenes and the goingsolomedia.com. Thank you so much. Absolutely could not do this without you. And everybody tune in and check out the goingsolomedia.com. Thank you, CC.
Thank you.